do, 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 do. My shirt says, I ain't afraid of no ghosts, by the way. Um, this week we marathoned Ghostbusters. There was a reunion thing that Josh Gad hosted for the original Ghostbusters, which I will put a link to if any of you are interested. But yeah, so I did start my marathon with the 2016 Ghostbusters, and I had gotten it on digital from Vudu. Like, they had included it some months ago, and I just never sat down to watch it. It was the extended version. Yeah, I never got around to seeing it in the theaters because it wasn't there that long. But yeah, after watching it, I'm glad I didn't pay for it at any point. I did like Kristen Wiig's character's name. She was named Erin, although that did get annoying after a little bit. Other characters saying her name. Throughout the film, I just kept asking myself, is this supposed to be funny? Like, there's a bunch of fart jokes. Like, part of it felt like it was written for a 5-year-old, and it's like, this is still, like, rated PG-13. What? Like, who is your target? Also, every time they did make references to the original, but it was like every time they did, it was to mock it. That, for example, like, there was a Bill Murray cameo, which I was like, oh, Bill Murray, like, this is awesome. And then he, like, falls, ghost carries him off, falls through a window, and the others are like, well, I guess he wasn't Ghostbuster material, and it's like, what are you doing with this film? Who are you appealing to? Anybody watching this is because they love the original, and you're just dumping on it. Also, I felt like every scene with Chris Hemsworth was like something straight out of a sexual harassment, like, video of, like, don't do this. It was just so cringy. And it was all played for laughs, and I'm like, no, this isn't appropriate. Also, it had the villain being, spoiler alert, the villain was a janitor, implying that a hotel janitor for this huge building would have the amount of leisure time to build, like, all this equipment. It is just, it's insulting to anybody who actually works such a job. Like, you don't have leisure time. Not to, yeah, I know, I'm nitpicking. I think they should apologize to the fans of the original for all the, like, vitriol they sowed, for what is ultimately a forgettable film at best. It was bad. Honestly, I feel like you could have given some high school kids like 1/10 the budget, and it could have turned out better. Like, it felt like a Saturday Night Live sketch where no one called cut, and it never went to commercial. It just kept getting stretched out, and yeah. Anyways, happily, we went on to the original Ghostbusters after that. I did watch it with the commentary on, which had Ivan Reitman, the director, and the late, great Harold Ramis, one of the screenwriters, who is, of course, Egon Spengler. it was great to watch because, like, with that on, because they explained, like, all the special effects. So cool. And also, like, where each scene was filmed. Like, they'd be like, oh, this was filmed on a soundstage, or that was filmed actually in New York City. One thing I learned from the commentary was the exterior of the Ghostbusters headquarters was a real life fire station in New York City, and the interior was a real fire station in California. Both were built in 1912. And I like how all the people in this, they act like normal people. They're not caricatures, they are characters. Like, it's just real people in extraordinary events kind of thing. So then we have Ghostbusters 2. I'll show you the boxes, I guess, inside this. So, Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2. Sadly, that one didn't have the commentary, so not as educational experience. Somehow the special effects didn't seem as good as the original. I can't quite put my finger on it, but they also changed Annie Potts' character a lot from the first movie. They changed her to be more like the cartoon, which is just weird. Like, I guess they were thinking, like, a lot of kids watched the cartoon, the real Ghostbusters, so they might not have seen the original movie, so act more like you do in the cartoon. I hadn't watched the cartoon since I was a little kid, until recently, so it was just kind of weird to be like, that's how they're having her play it? Where am I? It was funny to see Peter McNichol as the henchman of Vigo. He's also basically the henchman in Dracula Dead and Loving It. He was, of course, the Dragon Slayer guy in the Dragon Slayer movie for the Sword and Sorcery marathon we did earlier. This DVD also had a couple of episodes of the real Ghostbusters cartoon, which aired from 86 to 91. One thing that was kind of funny was a guy named Lorenzo Music was the voice of Venkman. You 80s kids will recognize his voice as the voice of Garfield. And then, of course, later Bill Murray went on to voice Garfield in the movies. So, a little funny moment. So the first episode was entitled Citizen Ghost, and it starts right where the first movie left off. It was written by J. Michael Straczynski, who created Babylon 5 and wrote the screenplay for the first Thor movie. And yeah, it's got a lot of continuity, like better than some sitcoms now for a kid's cartoon. It's crazy. The other episode was Partners in Slime, which takes place shortly after Ghostbusters 2. And by this time, the voice of Venkman had been replaced by Dan Coulier, who late 80s, early 90s kids will know from Full House as Uncle Joey. But yeah. Also, this particular pack, which had this cool box, I don't know if you can kind of see the texture to make it look like ooze. It also came with this little movie scrapbook, which is very cool. So it has all in here. It has like alternate designs for the logo and stuff. So yeah, if you got time, I highly recommend this, and of course that reunion thing that I will link to. Alright, happy viewing. See you later.